Good morning. I'm Mark Allen with Gaper.io, and I'm here today with Troy Billett, the investor relations lead at Tech Wildcatters. Good afternoon in your case, Troy. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. I'm glad to be here.
And that's great. And so why don't we start with, can you give a brief description of your background and your work experience?
Yeah. So it all started in high school, actually. I started my first company. It was just small videos for local businesses and musicians. And when I took off to go to university in Switzerland, I decided to kind of change my focus, and I created an outsourcing company for new enterprises. So a lot of my friends were trying to start new businesses and get their careers really off the ground. And I saw that you could hire some pretty great talent outside of your company to help move faster. And that grew to a pretty big company. And all the money I made from that, I felt like it was because of entrepreneurs. So I used that money to become an angel investor. And then I started investing in startups. And one of them I got really involved with, called Off-Grid Box, which does clean water and solar in the developing world. But it was still for profit. So they kind of aligned making money and making an impact. I thought that was really powerful. But lastly, I joined Tech Wildcatters because I saw that they're investing in these amazing entrepreneurs. And I wanted to take the next step and give back even more, since I had some experience doing my own and investing. So I thought it was a good step. And I'm just so excited for the potential now, because even though COVID-19 is a scary and kind of terrible thing, it does present, an opportunity for investors, especially early seed stage, because there's going to be a lot of startups that need cash to keep going. Mm-hmm. So for us to be able to help these entrepreneurs and really stick with the champions, they will come out stronger from this.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens in probably about 2 months, I would think.
Yeah.
So what's been your experience with remote employment, both as an employee and an employer?
Yeah, so when I was starting my outsourcing company, I was in Switzerland, and my co-founder was in California, and my contractors were in Colombia, South America. So, it was like the hardest thing ever to have a startup that was on 3 different continents. Mm-hmm. But we learned very quickly that, strong communication is so necessary to keep things moving forward. So after that, I joined Off-Grid Box, which I was basically the US office. We had manufacturing in Italy, and then we had projects in East Africa. So it was just, I've always been this kind of remote worker. So for me, that everyone has to go remote, I'm just like, well, I've been doing this for a while. Mm-hmm. I know how it goes, and I know it's challenging, but if you stick with it, you can make something out of it.
And what's been your takeaway from these experiences?
It's hard to say. There's a lot of technologies out there to help with remote work, but I feel like they need to take it to the next level. Like, there is huge opportunities if we're willing to invest and spend the time to really flush out these new technologies, whether it's, video chatting or, things that are more progressive like Slack, which allow you to share files and all of this stuff. It's really exciting to see that as a result of this, we might have faster development, because it's forcing us to use these platforms more and forcing us to invest in them. So really, I don't think we're going to struggle. I think it's just scary right now, and it's a little uncertain, but I've seen how effective we can be remotely and how people can get used to setting their own schedules, mm-hmm. that it's really possible, and we shouldn't be scared.
Yeah, no, I agree. And what do you think is the future of remote employment, and what do you think can be done differently to make it more effective?
I think that it's really important for us to value that sense of community. So it's really hard to establish a sense of community when you're not in person. I mean, if you're in person, it's really easy to buy everybody lunch and you all kind of stick them in the same conference room. But when you're working remotely, you feel detached and sometimes you don't feel aligned with the mission because you're so separated or disconnected. So making sure that there's a sense of community and friendship, and that you really care about your team. I mean, I know that's the leader's job and the manager's job, but like it's really critical. And I'm worried that people aren't going to get the performance that they're expecting from their team because they're not investing in that sense of community.
Yeah. Oh, that's very, very true. That seems to be a common theme among most of the people I talk to on my podcast. It's not the technical part, it's the human part.
Well, because we are seeing that technology is giving us the tools we need. Like, this wasn't possible, during the Spanish flu. Like,
obviously.
I mean, we can get so much done now just from a computer.
I agree. Yes. So what is the story behind Tech Wildcatters and what's the journey been like?
We've been a long-standing accelerator here in Dallas. It's been 10 years. We're actually raising our 8th fund now. So we really have the track record in terms of maintaining a fund and picking the most compelling startups and working with them through a systematic approach of a milestone-based funding. So every time they hit a milestone, they have an opportunity to get another chunk of cash. But if they don't reach that, then we've kind of de-risked the investment for our LPs. But what's really changing now with the 8th fund is that we're going to raise a much larger fund. So we're raising about 30 million, which is significantly more than we raised before. But 5 million will be used for the accelerator program. But the 25 million will be used for follow-on opportunities, because we saw some really, really great champions in our fund, but because we weren't able to continue investing in them in later stages, our percentage, went down, because we invest with common shares, just like the founders, because we want them to feel like we're a team member with them and stay involved. But, we got to stick our money where our mouth is and continue to invest as they grow and scale.
Yeah.
And then, of course, there is the huge opportunistic component where the fund, in a time like this, it's basically, companies need money and they might be raising at an even lower valuation than they would have if the economy was still good. But that's just because they need that cash. They need to maintain their business so they don't go out of business during just a temporary hiccup. They still have solid technology, solid founders. So we want an opportunity to team up with some of these. And it's really a great opportunity for our fund because we just got new leadership, which has experience. His name's Ricky. He's our managing partner. He basically led the turnaround for GM during bankruptcy. So he has that turnaround experience and the angel investing experience to be like, oh, okay, this is something that has true value. We just need to do things a little bit differently.
Yeah, wow, that GM was quite a turnaround. That guy's got some experience, obviously. So, how did you incorporate the idea of remote at either your company or at Tech Wildcatters?
So, at first, we weren't sure what was going to happen. So, Ricky just said, "Hey, if you want to come to work, we're here. But if you want to stay home and you feel safer, just go ahead and stay at home." Luckily, our business is a lot of conversations, a lot of introductions, a lot of community building. So we are able to do the majority of the things we wanted to do remotely. We did have to transfer all of our events to basically webinars, but we are seeing great engagement even on the webinars, because some things are inconvenient. Sometimes if you're far away, it's hard to drive in or even fly in. So for us to be able to connect digitally, it's been working for us so far. I understand if it doesn't work for every company, but maybe we're just lucky on that front.
No, I would think actually it would help in your situation because most of your meetings are you're talking, you're not showing things, and now that people aren't traveling, they're not driving into work, they have more time. I've noticed.
Yeah, and we're a B2B software investor, right? I mean, we do have a few B2C, but really our priority is B2B. But like, I used to work in hardware with Off-Grid Box, and I mean, you have to be there. You have to see it. You have to touch it. You have to really get involved. But in this case, software has a huge potential.
Yeah. So now that we're into week 4 here in San Francisco of the stay in place, every company basically has been forced to go remote. What do you think are some of the major roadblocks and challenges that different companies are seeing?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is some difficulty, but it really depends on what category. So we like to divide it. This idea or concept was led by Ricky at our fund, but basically there's different categories for how COVID is affecting each group of startups. So for example, there's ones that are really going to struggle from this. Maybe they have to do with restaurants or they have to do with entertainment, and they're really getting hit hard from this, and they just need to focus on saving cash and extending their runway. But there's companies that are kind of in between where it's like they're not really impacted either way. It's stable, they're related to utilities or something like this. But on the other end, there's companies that are actually doing better because of the situation. Yes. So, I mean, I don't know if you guys noticed, but Whole Foods, Walmart, I mean, their stock is skyrocketing because they're getting so much more business. So it really depends. We had a lot of companies and some of our champions even who are in the logistics space. So they're really benefiting from the market conditions, but that's why you have a portfolio. You want to diversify your risk. So there's challenges, but we are currently scheduling calls with every single one of our startups to understand, how has your plans changed because of this? And, we would love to share that with people.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, especially restaurants hard, and they all have to have prove that they're COVID-19 compliant now, or else people aren't going to order from them, right? And that's and then to get that message out to their potential customers. So, I mean, I noticed that here where I live. That's the one thing everybody thinks of.
Yeah, I mean, everyone's scared. They want to trust these organizations to get the services that they need and want. But, if you can't prove that you're compliant, then people will go to other sources. I mean, there's always a substitute. Maybe not a direct competitor, but there's always a substitute.
There always is, yes. So finally, there are companies that like Gaper that help develop, build, and scale products, especially for startups. How important do you think companies like this are going to be going in the future, especially for startups who need to hire quality people quickly?
I have a pretty provocative approach to entrepreneurship. Many people believe that everything should be done in-house, carefully, slowly, super secretly. But on the other hand, I've been successful by outsourcing everything to key and trusted partners. So this partner network that I have to develop for each company that I start allows the company to remain lean and not take on high upfront costs associated with employment or infrastructure or whatever it might be to help them get going. But it's so difficult to take on everything when you're just starting out. Like, you can't do everything. Every founder thinks they can do everything, but they never can. So working with partners helps you go fast. I mean, of course, keep a close eye on quality, but bring the processes in-house when they're critical to developing your company's core competences. Because what investors look for is, what is your core competence? What is going to set you apart from your competitors? And what are people going to remember? What are your customers going to think about when they think of you? Yeah. And yeah, that should be in-house, but everything else, why are you doing it? Why are you adding that extra weight on your shoulders?
Yeah, true. And there we go. Yeah, your screen went dark. So, which maybe that's a sign. So Well, I want to thank you, Troy, for taking time out to talk to me today. And I wish Tech Wildcatters and all of your companies that you invest in a lot of luck going forward.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me on the call. And if people want to get involved with Tech Wildcatters or even apply for our next cohort, we start in fall. So reach out. I'm always here.
Okay, thanks. Have a great day.
All right. Have a good one.